Number 2, hopefully you noticed here a couple of really valuable words, the word because and the word and. The word because is a premise indicator, and that tells us a couple of things. The sentence that follows it is a premise, and the sentence that precedes it is the conclusion. We also see the word and that's indicating to us that the sentence that follows the word and is doing the same thing as the sentence that came before it. So those two sentences that follow the word because are our premise statements, and the sentence that precedes the word because is our conclusion. All right, I chose to represent the terms of this argument as follows. P for proposed flights to Mars, E for expensive ventures, M for manned space missions. So if you chose different letters to represent the terms, you might want to do a little cross-reference here so you can see if you represented the argument the same way I did. With these as terms, I have as the first premise, all non-M are non-E. Some P are not M is the second premise, and the conclusion is some P are non-E. So what we want to do is we want to try to eliminate all of these term complements, and we can do that with the first premise really easy by applying contraposition to that A statement so that all non-M are non-E becomes all E are M. And then we can take a look at this conclusion statement and obvert it. And if we obvert some P are non-E, we're going to get some P are not E, and now we can bring in our second premise, and we have the argument in standard form, 3 terms appearing exactly 2 times each in the exact same way, and now we can apply the 5 rules for categorical syllogisms to see if this argument is valid. We do so by marking all of our distributed terms. The middle term, M, needs to be distributed in at least one premise to comply with rule number 1, and it's distributed here in the second premise. If there's anything distributed in the conclusion, and there is, E, it needs to also be distributed in a premise, and it is, right here in the first premise. We don't have 2 negative premises, so we can check off rule number 3. We do have a negative premise, though, and we also have a negative conclusion, which is exactly what rule number 4 requires. And we don't have 2 universal premises and a particular conclusion, so rule number 5 doesn't apply. So if we're doing our work correctly, this should check out in our Venn diagram. So we show that all E's are M by shading in areas 6 and 7, and some P are not M by putting an X over here somewhere in area 5, because that's the only area where any P's could be that would not be M's. And now we see the conclusion of our argument. Some P's, namely this X, are not E. And that tells us that this argument is valid. We can consult our unconditionally valid forms inventory for the form A002, and we see that it appears there. So 3 ways to Sunday we have determined that this is an unconditionally valid argument.